Thank you for joining us once again as we talk about parenting trailblazers, focusing on how we can enrich our African children to live a better leadership life when they are eventually the ones steering our continent forward. I want to say thank you for joining us once again. My name is Eddie Ivan Kaweela, and today we are talking about another very critical subject because it's got to do with taking the children seriously. It's got to do with taking the children seriously, contrary to how we normally think. And so the topic today in chapter 1 of the book, Parenting Trailblazers, is listen to them, understand, and value their perspectives. Listen to the children, understand, and value their perspectives. Now, we live in a world, I write, where voices of the younger members are often overshadowed, especially in modern day Africa. And departing from traditional norms, especially prevalent in many African cultures, we should encourage our children to speak up, share their thoughts, and participate at their own level in decisions that shape our families, communities, and the continent. Now, of course, we know the children are always still growing. They are not formed to give decisions on really serious life issues. They may give answers that are at their level or responses that are at their level of understanding life and the world. But the goal here is not that we are engaging children so we eventually follow what the children are saying, but so that we show them that they are equal partners in this community and their views are real views and they are hard. And even though we may not go with their views, can we make them understand at their level why? Instead of never ever having anything to do with creating opportunities to hear children out, to listen to children. By creating a space where children feel heard and valued, we aim to nurture their sense of self-worth and belonging that will benefit them and the continent throughout their lives. So this is really something that starts off the child to believe that they are worthy to be listened to, that they've got something to offer. A child must know that they have an opinion, and that opinion can be listened to and considered. It's also one thing to listen and brush off, but to consider. And of course, the challenge is when you know that your children have suggested things that are totally off. They are totally off, and you're not going to let them have the light of day. And that's where wisdom in parenting comes in, that you must give them room to say that which doesn't make a lot of sense. And the wisdom is going to come in how you respond to the children. In our home, we try as often as possible on a daily basis to create time to sit around the table and just listen to people. Now, sometimes we don't have all the time in the world, but the moment is there where we all sit around the table in our home, and people say all sorts of things they say. Sometimes people don't say any serious stuff, but they say stuff anyway. Those who have loud voices air their things out, and you hear them. Those who say one word or two words say their one word or two words, but they have been heard. And other times when we see that, I think they may not actually say anything, we make sure that we give them opportunity to say something. I mean, we make it mandatory for everyone to say something. We say, okay, we're going to start with you, child A, go to you, child B, and go to you, child B, to understand what your take is on this thing that just happened, or on this thing that we are planning, or on this topic that we have chosen to talk about. So that's our practice in our home. It's never perfect. It's never perfect. But man, it's made our children think that they must have an opinion on everything. On everything. And they always have an opinion on something. And they always say what is on their heart, because that is something that we think is very important, to make them know that they're human beings. So you hear them say, hey, Daddy, this is what I think. Hey, Mommy, this is what I think. And they say it. They say what they think. And they suggest what they want to be suggested. And we listen to them and we hear them out. Not done perfectly. Not done perfectly, but it happens. And we say here that during these meetings, we encourage the children to share their thoughts on specific topics. Sometimes one child may take the lead for the entire meeting, while other times everyone contributes and shares their experiences. So this approach differs significantly from the environment that I grew up in, where you are a child, you have very little understanding about life and the pressures of real life and the complexity and the challenges of real life. So please stay in your place. Stay in your place as a child. And that's how we were brought up, and that's how we grew up. And by the time we started expressing ourselves, we never always had the confidence that adults are going to hear us out. And so we always had to even speak and try to overcompensate to make the adults believe that we had something serious to say. If a child expressed curiosity normally as we grew up, or they offered some thoughts on family matters, they were often silenced, with adults asserting that such topics were not their concern. In much of Africa, children's voices are not traditionally heard in family settings unless they are being questioned about a wrongdoing. And listening to children's perspectives is not about indulging in fanciful ideas, but understanding their developing views and experiences. So I make two critical topics here. Let me start with the last one. Now, this is about understanding the children's developing views and perspectives. They're not yet perfected, but can you also hear what the child is dreaming? And of course, you know, and you've seen with your own children, that when they were younger, they said they wanted to be policemen. Now they say they want to be doctors. A few months ago, they were saying they wanted to be pilots and all. So their views are going to change on quite a few things, because they're getting more and more experience to reality, but they are also understanding themselves better in terms of their gifts and natural talents. Plus, even their own philosophy is changing based on what you are exposing them to or what they are being exposed to. But listening to your children and creating that moment to hear them is going to help you understand how they think, so that as you talk to them, you will be appealing to that line of their thought. If it's a good thought, you even enrich it and make sure that they know that they are important. Much of the time when we talk to children when they were growing up is when we were questioning them about some kind of wrongdoing. That's when you say, okay, tell me, why did you do it? Why did you do what you did? A 2020 study by Stephen Nzaya in Ghana, involving 900 children, found that 60% of those whose parents actively listened to and engaged with them showed higher self-esteem and academic performance. 60% of children who felt like their parents were listening to them and engaging them, not only was their self-esteem enhanced, but when it came to the marks, the academic performance, they did much better than the children who in the research were never taken seriously by their parents, whose ideas were never considered as important or listened to. And this study highlights the critical role parental involvement plays in children's educational and emotional development. So let the children speak. Let the children speak. Let the children say something. And when they speak, let's listen. Let's hear them. Let's hear what they're saying. Because sometimes they will say stuff, and you're like, oh my goodness, thank God they have spoken here. Thank God they have said it now. Because if they hadn't said it because they don't think they should say anything before me, what an embarrassment it would have been, or how much damage it would have caused to them, to the family, or to other people. So let the children speak. Let them know that they can always just say whatever it is that's on their heart before you, with you. Of course, as the children speak, you realize that you will also be coaching them in the best way to say how much. The best way to say how much when. Okay? The best way to say how much when. So let the children speak. Let the children speak and enjoy their speech. Listening to children can be challenging because, watch this, they often have quote unquote childish ideas and perspectives. I mean, that's the reality. However, this does not diminish the importance of hearing them out. Children live in a different era with unique experiences shaped by technologies like computers, the internet, and social media, which were not part of our childhood experiences. And so understanding these differences is crucial for supporting their growth and development. We're talking about listening to children and understanding them and taking them seriously. Conversations adopted from my book, Parenting Trailblazers, that's been out for you to purchase everywhere online where you can get them. So thank you again for being part of this interaction. And I will always be happy to hear from you and your views and comments when you leave them out in our comment section here. Listening to children is a fundamental human right and essential for their development, as emphasized by Professor Marek Tezer and Dr. Vicky Hargraves at the Education Hub. African parents can enhance their children's confidence and well-being by intentionally nurturing a supportive and inclusive family environment. Professor Marek and Dr. Hargraves emphasize that the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child affirms children's right to be heard, urging parents to adopt an empathetic listening approach that enhances trust and familial bonds. So children, just like other human beings, deserve to be heard. They deserve to be listened to. They deserve to be taken seriously. It is their fundamental human right. Yet, we also understand that they don't always bring the best ideas on the table because they're young. And so sometimes it's so easy to rubbish them off. Yet, we also know that that child can say something that you know is critically important, that if that child had not said it because they don't feel they have the right to say it, they have the room to say it, they have the safety of place and safety of space to say it, much damage and much harm would have been caused. Let the children speak. Sometimes these children go through a lot of challenges where they go to study, where with the people they relate with, even in the home. And if your child is the type who never says things, who never speaks, they may suffer with some stuff that would be detrimental and would have been taken care of quickly and urgently if they knew they could have said something and they would have been taken seriously. So let your children know that their ideas are welcome. Let the children know that their ideas are welcome. Intentional listening also allows African parents to reflect on their own beliefs and practices. It encourages a shift from authoritative parenting to a more collaborative and nurturing approach. This reflection can lead to more responsive and adaptive parenting styles that respect and value children's voices, whether expressed verbally or non-verbally. Let's create formal, official platforms for children to speak to us. And let us also make it conversational, not, what do you have to say? And they say stuff. Be the kind of parent who masters the art of engaging children naturally. When you are in the kitchen preparing a meal, when you are seated somewhere playing a game, try to make sure that as they say stuff, you listen to it and you try to advance it to a meaningful conclusion. Because sometimes children say very important things passively. Hey, Daddy, when we were at school, this happened. It was a very important thing, but they say it quickly and they almost try to move on. So if you're not the listening parent, a child might say something that you should have caught and followed up, so you bring it to a meaningful conclusion for the benefit of everyone, including the child. So this can only be possible when you listen. This can only be possible when you listen to the child. So let's listen to children. Let's listen to our children. I've got some questions here that I want you to ponder and think through. Are you creating intentional spaces in your home where your children feel encouraged to share their ideas and experiences? Are you creating those intentional spaces where children feel that they can speak, they can engage, with you, and they will be taken seriously, and you will listen to them? Next question that I want to pose to you: how often do you actively listen to your children's perspectives? And how are you incorporating their input into family decisions? It can mean a lot to the child when an idea that they suggested actually gets implemented. Even in some small way, when an idea that they threw out to you, they now see actually Daddy took it very seriously and he has done it. So let's not just listen to the children, but let us also see how, when they say certain things that are critical and important, we give them evidence that we took them seriously in the ultimate decision making. And that, I think, speaks to their inner person to know that I am hard and I am important here. And that's what they carry on as they grow up, to know that, hey, I'm an equal member of society who says stuff and stuff is listened to and taken seriously. What steps can you take to ensure that your parenting practices reflect a balance between respect for cultural norms and the evolving need to hear your children's voices? To hear your children's voices. It's true, we have some fundamental cultural things. You know, a parent is a parent. A parent is the most authoritative person in much of African homes, and it should be like that. Children should not be the authority in the homes. That's for another program, and it's all in the book. Yet, even then, let the children know that their voice was heard and taken seriously. Are you recognizing and nurturing the unique contributions your children can make to your family and community despite their young age? Children have got a lot to offer, and we were given the children not just as human beings waiting to be used in future when their time comes, but as human beings who can be used now to make meaningful contributions to our growth, to our betterment of our families and of our communities. Children can have insights that we took for granted. Children can help us stop abuse where it's been happening because we've been too busy minding other things, yet stuff is happening down here. Children will say things. You know how when children know that daddy can hear me out, mommy can hear me out, they'll say things that are very critical that if we hadn't listened to them, they may have caused a lot of challenges. So thank you once again for joining me. Let's meet in the next episode of Parenting Trailblazers. Like the program, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet subscribed. Let's build our little family here of African parents, African leaders who are intentionally preparing these youngsters to lead by doing certain intentional things to make sure that we make that dream of great leaders for Africa in the next generation a reality. I love you and God bless you. See you soon.